I'm recording. All right, so we're going to do some typography exercises here with an idiom. I always say this one, and students think I'm about to say something bad, but I like to type this one up. All right, and let's go forward. What I had earlier. All right. So again, we're using two different fonts, one serif, one sans serif. Got to download something. I'll keep this right there. And I'm going to type the first three letters. Now, I like to type them separate. And the O, I'm going to do lowercase. Oops, that's a 0. And later you can actually use numbers. And then I like to do the first and last characters as all caps, right? They're capitalized letters. And then this O, even though it's lowercase, I'll scale it up in a little bit. But let's find, I actually had, I think I used marker felt, which was very interesting looking to me. Marker felt, that one's built in. So I like this, is very bold. You can see it right away. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to outline those. I'm going to use Option to copy them. These are still live fonts, right? I can highlight them, select them. And I'm just going to play around with this. Shift Command O, outline those. Those are outlined, right? Now, we're just playing around with this. But remember, it's got to fit within the guides that I gave you, all right? Now, no stretching. We can scale, right? You could scale. And I think this is where people need to not be afraid of using guides, Command R. And I'm going to bring them a baseline guide for this S. And I'm going to scale the N out. And this is where I tell people, don't be afraid of stuff overlapping, right? Everybody's so worried all the time about stuff overlapping. And I'll just give an example. You guys have seen this before. We call this nestling, right? And it's okay if they're overlapping. I'm going to make this one a different color so you can see what I'm talking about. Oops. There it is. You can see it's on top, right? And the trick to this, you got to zoom in. Make sure this one is not sticking out. Use your arrow keys. All right. Now, most people would just do this. They'd select that O, copy it, Command C, select the N, do a minus front on the Pathfinder. You're going to have to do this. Use your Pathfinder. Bring the Pathfinder over here. And I do a minus front. And notice that cuts into that that N a little bit right there, right? We still have it in memory. Now I select the S, paste in front, and notice how it's overlapping the S. I also do a minus front. So it makes this creates this negative space. Now I bring it back, Command F. It's still in memory. Now this one, some people would have chosen to add a stroke to it and do the outline stroke, but I chose to place it back in and scale it down a little bit, and you create this interesting negative space, right? And let's switch that back to black. Remember, we're going to do nothing but black and white. And already I've modified this so that it looks very different than just if we typed it, right? Just using the fonts. And that's what I want everybody to start manipulating and changing, right? Instead of just, don't be that graphic designer or creative person that just, oh, I like this font, and you type the word in that and you choose a couple fonts. That's it. No, you should learn how to modify these fonts so that they become more visual, almost an image or a picture rather than just choosing a font. That's a good graphic designer. And what I like to do a lot too is I'll grab that copy, and this is just practice. And sometimes if you flip a character around, right, like that O, You say, oh, it's fine. What if I flip it around? Does it make it any different? It doesn't, right? It's pretty much the same. Now, it is different in the sense that part of it is facing the other way. Look, you can see a slight difference. Does that make any difference to us? I don't know if it makes a difference. There it is before, after, before. See how it's just slight? Not a big deal. But like I said, you cannot you cannot stretch these. There's no stretching. But yeah, no stretching. But could I come in here and get my direct select arrow and select the bowl? I mean the counter, I'm sorry, the inside. Well, I don't know it's a bowl. And you delete it, hit a couple times. So now it's gone. Right? Could I now get a circle? Now, it's gonna look weird, but again, how do you find out if it's interesting or not? All right, this is where you create visual interest. And now I put a circle in there, and actually I kind of like it. It's modified it. I'm gonna move this one to the side, move this one up, and actually I don't mind that. It's very readable. All I do is put a circle in it, right? Instead of it having the regular counter that it came with from that font style, right? It looks odd, but it kind of works. And then you can even go a step further and select that with your direct select arrow. And what if we just modify one, two, select the bottom anchor? I think I did three. So sometimes I like to do even stuff. So that's just more like an egg shape. I don't know if that's any better, or I should just left it as a circle. I shall leave it as a circle. And you get the idea, right? Sun. All right. Now, the and, you can type it out, or you can use the symbol, right? We call them ampersands. That's shift and. And in this type of typographical experiment, it's probably best to do that, right? And you'll see what I mean. It's going to become part of this. All right, sun, and then we need, I think we'll do of A on one line. Let's go in here. Of scale. And then A. I'm going to do both an upper and lowercase. But now I'm going to use the other font. I always think of this as doing a shish kebab. If you ever put a shish kebab together, you're putting like an onion and then a bell pepper and then a mushroom and then a piece of meat, and then you're like going through it and trying to make everything even. It doesn't ever work out, but that's the way I think about it. So now I'm going to use my sans serif. I mean, yes, my sans serif font. And I would say this one's kind of serif. I mean, sans serif, even though it has a little bit, it is a serif. The marker felt it does have a little bit of a serif. And I know I'm kind of cheating a little bit there, but let's find a nice serif font. Ugh, sample. That's no bueno. Don't forget you can click on that find more, and there's a lot of fonts on the cloud. This shows you if you have more or less, and of course there is. All right, so we're back recording here, and oh, that's the that's the font from the Altomar Lithos Pro. Ugh. Impact is the one people use for memes, I think. Is it Impact? I can't remember. Maybe it's another one. All right, so let's go to the internet. Excuse me. Let's find. Go to a font squirrel. And let's go to recent, popular. Let's choose a nice sans serif. Ooh, that Oswald looks good. Let's see here. Let's see. Ooh, that's it right there. League Gothic. Download. Like that one. There it is. Let's install that. Double click it. Remember OTF or TTF, true type fonts, open type fonts. So if it says .otf or TTF, those are your actual fonts. So select all four, double click. Bam. Oh, messed up there. Ooh, I like that one. All right, so it's League Gothic. Let's try that. I'll go over here, League. Let's try League Gothic Italic. Okay, so we're going to scale this up. Remember, we got to fit within this little area that I gave you guys. Go to my layers. And I messed up there. I should have put all my text on text layer. Cool. Move that on there. And these guys. Cool. I think we got everything. Oh, that A. There we go. So the guide should just be the guide. If you haven't saved, I would save. Wow, now this O is looking like it should have been sideways. Looks weird the other way, but it almost looks now like it should be this way. And we could try that later. I'm going to try that later with the S and the O, the original ones before we did any Pathfinder. It might work. I'll do that later. So let's get to this part. I forgot to put on the assignment. You can use, and you guys that have been in my classes before, sometimes we can use separators, right? A bar. I don't know if we want to do that in this, but I guess we might allow it. Just a simple bar sometimes fills in that visual gap, right? And create something like that. Or you could do a separator as simple as that, right? Now, sometimes I like to keep them thin. There's also names for these. You call them dingbats. We have a whole series of them. Wingdings and dingbats. They've been around in typography for a long time. We'll explain that one too. All right. So just an idea. So of A, and you know what? I'm going to put the O and the F separate. And I want to also see the lowercase. This should be uppercase. So that's uppercase. And then a lowercase O. And again, sometimes the proportions are different. And then with the O's, I like to try zeros and see how much. See, so the zero on this font is the same as a capital O. All right. Actually, I think the lowercase is going to work better. And I'm going to scale this up, make a copy. always put stuff to the side, Shift Command O to outline it, right? So let you edit it better. Ungroup. It's Shift Command G, right? And let's move the baseline up a little bit. I know that's weird, but you'll see why. Something like that. And it's okay if they kind of overlap. Kind of like that. Cool. And I'm going to do the O, and I'm going to add a stroke. Let me choose a color so you guys can see this. I should have done that before. Cancel. Right there. Let's make a light green again. Bright green so you guys can see it. Right now, here's that trick. Everybody look. So yeah, I could just copy and paste and bring it back, but watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to increase the stroke. I'm going to make it the same color, green. It really doesn't matter, but I want it for visual purposes. Now, notice what we're going to do here is that stroke. Right now, if I were to cut it, it's only going to cut at the line of this path, right? But if I create a stroke and I adjust this, I'd say like right there, I increase the stroke to about 8, and if I squint, this is actually going to cut at this top line. All right, so remember I had copied this, right? Copy. Now this is the important part. You go to object, and it is a path, and you outline the stroke. This is an old trick from the 90s. Check that out. You see that? Now you select the S minus front, and it's going to cut a big piece out. Then you Command F, bring it back, but then you take the stroke away, and it's automatic. You've got that beautiful negative space. It cut away more, and it's weird. As you go away from it, it creates a larger, more dramatic negative space. There's a place where you can just visually see that it kind of flows. It's somewhere around here. Like that's still acceptable. If you go beyond, then it's like too much. But there's a space even farther from where it originally created it, and now you've made this space, right? Look at that. But this is how people create signage for like famous places that you go eat, like Taco Bell. If you ever look at the posters they have on the windows, all the Takis and all the potato chip bags, if you look at the typography on them, it's very stylized. It's been manipulated. Some of them might even have been hand drawn and then manipulated in a digital fashion to look a certain way from the original font. They're based on an original font, but you might not be able to find it, or it's a combination, right? So look at this negative space we're creating here now. And again, switch it back to black so you can see, right? You might even get away with not cutting this out of the O, and you might still be able to read it. You might still be able to read this. All right. But I would still cut this out. Now, can you come in here with a direct select arrow and select the bottom part of this descender or leg, and I shorten it up a little bit, or I make it match up just with the baseline of the O, somewhere around there. And luckily now Illustrator tells us if we're even close. I don't know, I kind of like it lower. Maybe add a little bit of interest that way. I like it there. This is nice and even spacing right there. And I'm going to add a stroke. Stroke. Again, same technique, select it, object. Oh, copy it first, copy Command C. Because if you don't, then you can't bring it back with a Command F path. Outline stroke. Select both, minus front, Command F, delete the stroke. Put that back. right? See, and if you notice, it's kind of offset, it's not even, right? So that's where you can come in back in here. This is where your design really comes in, and you see that visually it's not right. You come back and adjust that. That's your job as a creative person, is see those details. Some people say, oh, why are you doing all this? Why is this taking this long? Well, that's how some of these things are made. It takes time. This is the craftsmanship part of this, right? If something is off, like you see there's an extra point here, get rid of it. Make it smooth. Take that extra time. Look at that. All right. Make it smooth. That looks better to me. Right. And right now you said, well, how's anyone going to tell? Guess what? What if you made this a banner the size of a building? You're going to see that. But it's not even. It's not smooth. It's not a perfect curve. All right. Let's pause here.